The closure on Friday, June 3rd, staff will participate in an annual staff retreat hosted by Staff Council. Did we? At least I'm not the only one that heard it. So as long as I'm not hearing voices, we're good to go. Staff should plan on reporting to the venue, which is TBD, by 8:45 a.m. for the professional development portion, which will begin at 9 a.m. promptly. Please watch your emails for additional details on the staff retreat that will be sent by Staff Council. So Barb, I'm sure you'll let everyone know details as they come. If you have questions regarding the water line repairs or campus closure, contact Paul Caratini. Is Paul here? We all know who he is, so let you do that. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez, who will do some updates on preparedness and readiness.
Thank you, Dr. Archuleta. So this morning this week I have been working remotely from my parents in Green Valley, Arizona. And so I'm in their library, as you can see, meeting with you this morning. So it's really lovely to be able to spend some time with you all today. In terms of announcements that I'd like to go over, just to continue the conversation that Randy had started regarding the water closure that we have this weekend. In our last meeting, we talked about two different infrastructure projects that we have going on. The immediate one to finish water work so that we can go ahead and get pathways open is the water closure that we're having this weekend. So as soon as that is done and the entire water system is restored and has been tested, we'll be able to have the fire marshal back and get approval to open up pathways so that we can begin to move in for occupancy. Are there any questions about that? All right. In the last meeting, we'd also talked about the larger infrastructure project that really is going to be focusing on infrastructure such as parking lots, roadways, lighting, and safety features. That we have prioritized the proposed components of that project and given it back to the architecture firm who is doing that work. They are working with Franken right now to put together a quote so that we're able to go ahead and move forward with that work. It's time-sensitive work because you can't be doing paving of parking lots and roadways year-round. So we are working hard with them to get that moved through quickly so that that work can commence. And we'll keep you updated, obviously. The campus community will need to be knowing about that work as we're beginning to do it. Before I get into the next topic, I want to go through a couple of announcements. We have some really important data points to share with you all. In the spring semester, we reduced the rate of student suspension by 75%, moving from 12 students on suspension down to only 3. And all probationary students were either making reasonable progress or made sufficient progress to be completely removed from probation. And this is a real team effort. I thank you so much to the faculty who I know are working hard to help students make that adequate progress. And I feel really excited that we have faculty members with us here this morning. You're not currently on contract, and it just makes me feel really happy to see you all here. Yes, thank you, Brandy, for that applause. So thank you, Gary and Josh and Amy, and I thought I saw, yes, Susan's name on here too. Thank you so much for being here this morning for the conversation. I also want to thank advisors, because I think that while faculty are very much focused on supporting students as individuals and supporting their progress through classes, advisors have to take that overarching look and really have to put together strategies with our students to help them move into to full status. So I would love for all of our advisors to either raise their hand on their screen or stand up in the room, and let's give them a round of applause as well. It's quite an achievement. And just to emphasize, I think it is the teamwork that makes this come together, because faculty are able to do a certain amount of this work on their own. Advisors are able to do a little bit of this on their own as well, but it's really the faculty, advisors, and students all working together, all of us working together, that really can help students change the course when they are having a challenging time and meet with success. So thank you all for that. The next thing I wanted to say is congratulations to Victoria Henry. I know she is not here with us today, but I wanted to say thank you to Victoria for her work, for her leadership, and congratulations. Victoria has been accepted into a doctoral program in Teachers College at Columbia College. And so she has already started, I believe in June, right, Amy, that she begins that work. Do you want to tell us anything else about that, Amy?
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. She's just really excited about this opportunity. We had a conversation about, her staying and working at UNM-Taos, or her going, and she really felt like going and doing this work there would give her a better opportunity to come back and do more with our community. So I think she plans on coming back to us at some point. So we're really excited for that possibility.
Great, thank you. All right, and very often work that we do is behind the scenes, and it's arduous, and it can feel like it goes unnoticed. In the past 2 weeks, we have had people working on, I've counted at least 14 reports or applications, and that's really, it is arduous work. It's detailed work. It can happen, it sometimes happens very quickly, because it will be sometimes that a grant is released and we have really 2 weeks to get work done on that before we have to submit that to UNM. So it means that people who are pulling data, people who are pulling together lots of various pieces of information, and people who are doing that writing are working long, hard hours with high stakes. And UNM-Taos is very successful in bringing in grant dollars. I think that we have done a lot of work this year to make that more of a systematic approach, and I think we'll continue to develop that. But I personally want to say thank you to all of the folks who have been working on those reports, and ask you to either raise your hand or stand up if you have been part of that big effort. Let's give everybody a round of applause. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the fire readiness plan. And I want to thank people who have who've asked questions, who have expressed needs or expressed concerns. And the reason that I mention that is because while the admin team had been working on our fire readiness plan, there was one particular component of it that came together because someone expressed a need. And there was, I would say, more formal communication about this because people ask questions. So I want to just thank you for communicating openly, for bringing questions and concerns to your supervisors, to me, to the team. It's helpful for us in terms of making sure that we're talking about the things that are on your mind. So thank you first for that. 2 weeks ago, about the same time that the incident command post was established at Baton Hall, the Tuesday after that Sunday morning, the admin team pulled together the resources that we have and the information that we have to really organize as a team around what our fire readiness response was. And I'm going to talk about some of the components of the fire readiness response. The purpose of that work was so that as an admin team, we would be sure that we had all of our bases covered and that we would be prepared in the event that we need to. I hope it's a plan we never have to use. That said, it's an important plan for us to have in place. And whereas we have fire readiness, I would say, conventions that we should always have in place, it was also important to have a version of this that is ready for this particular moment, particularly as we're in a position of transitioning between civic and CLOWR and even on the Clower campus itself. So I just want to highlight some of the components of this plan. The first is that we really have privileged communication. And this comes from the standpoint that Anita has really extremely strong relationships in the community. We have, I would say, we have privileged information. We get information sooner than many other outlets get that. We get information very often as it is in the process of being formed. So it may be even that folks are asking us for information to help them reach decisions. But because of that, we have that advanced information, are able to prepare responses and to be able to respond more quickly than we would be able to otherwise. Anita, would you like to say anything else about the level of communication that you're really the primary channel for UNM-Taos?
Thanks, Dr. Gutierrez. Sure. So really, this has been a result of, like Dr. Gutierrez said, a result of our work out in community and establishing those relationships, and specifically as it relates to emergency or disaster response. The creation of the AHSIE, that's an Enchanted Circle Community Organizations Active in Disaster, that came together early on in the pandemic to respond to the immediate and unmet needs that the community members were facing. And so in our active engagement and involvement in that led to folks from across the region coming together to share pain points, to share what the needs were, and then to kind of pool our resources to try to address those community needs. The AHSIE co-ed has been an all volunteer base. It's been somewhat informal in its structure, but based on the national VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster model. There's also a state New Mexico VOAD that we have access to. So it really began through the pandemic that we were able to have kind of frontline information on trends and access to PPE and kind of what the most current information was for protocols, et cetera. So that has continued now through, it continued through the snow squall that we had, and now through the fire response. And participation in that, specifically as it relates to this incident, has allowed us to be engaged with the county-wide fire response team that is made up of town and county elected officials, fire marshal, fire chief, emergency response folks, and being engaged and involved and at that table, as Dr. Gutierrez said, we're privy to information and decisions as they're happening, and oftentimes have input into those decisions and that information that's being put out. And so I'm so grateful for that because of those relationships, I'm able to share that critical information out with our admin team and campus community. And I think it just really positions us as a community and a campus to be best prepared to not just react, but respond and be proactive in our responses for the best interest of our campus community and our community at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. All right, let's see. The next component of the plan that I'd like for us to talk about is really just that additional accommodations for students, and particularly what we have a practice of doing, but particularly during this time, one of the things that we would want to make sure that we are doing is ensuring that all of our students have the accommodations that they need. Not only are we flexible in terms of instruction and making sure that we're providing additional responses, but additionally, Cammie's position is one that allows her the opportunity to individualize that response for students. Patricia, do you want to say anything else about that?
So just to say, I think, obviously this is an unprecedented time. We've never had to really deal with this kind of stuff. So it's a work in progress, but I think Cammie's doing a lot of great work, not only for this kind of stuff, but also as we move forward. I mentioned to our student success team that I was made aware a short time back in talking to Cami, the fact that she was hired during the pandemic. So she's never gotten to experience what it's like to have all students on campus. And so I'm very excited for some of the things that she's lining up for being able to do that. Cami's a very compassionate person who always has students' basic needs at the heart of her work. And so she is starting up right now the food pantry, which is, if all of you may have noticed that there's some cabinets right in front of Fred Peralta Hall that are already being utilized by folks. Food's been put in there and it has been taken. So she's working on a bigger scale of a food pantry. She's developed some resources for not only campus-based, but community-based resources, and has put up some bulletin boards in the hallway in Padre Martinez Hall that have positions that are available, have some community-based resources available, so students are aware of those situations. She's also has been working a lot with the vaccination verifications and working with students to get that stuff on. And she continues to meet with students on a one-to-one basis as they come to her with specific needs. She's, continuously looking for opportunities to support students. She also has, through her work, has also identified an anonymous source who has now, to date, paid off outstanding balances for 4 students to be able to return to school. So these are students who had wanted to return to school but were unable to. And through Cami's work, she was able to find a donor who wishes to remain anonymous, who has paid off their balances so that they can return. And as part of that, this donor has also most recently indicated that they would be willing to have a conversation with Lewis to establish an endowment to be able to have their money go further and pay for more students. So Cami's doing some great work in that area. One of the big things that she's going to be doing as folks come back to campus in the fall is really an educational piece and being able to educate the campus community of all the wonderful things she's doing, as well as letting them know that where she's at, and also providing some kinds of workshops, maybe some brown bag workshops, and being able to provide opportunities for engagement for students to come together to hear good information, as well as maybe join in sharing a meal. So just want to give her props for all the work that she's doing. A lot of times it may not be evident, but she really is doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and it's really having a great impact on our students on campus. So thank you to Cami for that.
Thanks so much. I'm looking at some comments that are popping up in the chat. That Cami has been working with. Kelly, do you want to talk about what you popped into the chat?
Oh, I just wanted to let everybody know that I assigned our VUB recruiter to find out as much information and to correct some misinformation that had been sent out about resources and services available to evacuees, fire evacuees, who are coming into the town of Taos. And he and Cami have been working really closely together, and they've done a great job.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Ali has also added information that Cami is working with UNM and the larger statewide food insecurity network to really improve research and understanding around the needs that our students have. And Cami's also working with our SGA. So she's really building a broad base and is providing accurate information and broad information to our students, and really to the rest of us as well. So congratulations, Cami, for all of the work that you're doing. Some of the other work that we're doing for fire readiness really kind of even precedes a point where we would need to be concerned about evacuation, and that's related to smoke. So one of the pieces of work that we did was to develop an air quality index guide. Air quality index is based on the particulates, the smoke particulates in the air and the ratio of those in the air. And the air quality index is broken into varying levels, so from good to moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups to unhealthy to very unhealthy. And what we have developed in relationship with each of those qualities of air is a response that the college would take. So sometimes the air quality will change very quickly, which means simply that we would be making sure that the children on the kids' campus are not involved in outdoor play, and we don't have any of our employees working outside under unhealthy conditions. But sometimes we have forecasts where we know that the air could potentially be unhealthy for sensitive groups for a period of time or unhealthy for a period of time. And those conditions, we also have a set of anticipated behaviors such as campus closure if we know that we're going to have extended very unhealthy air. So now we have formal guidance around that. We've documented what our approach is going to be for a number of different areas. And the reason I bring this up is because this also impacts how we operate our facilities. So in some recent day when we had higher levels of smoke than typical, we shut down the swamp coolers because they're pulling in outside air, and we wanted to make sure that the air quality inside of the building wasn't compromised as the smoke was increasing. So that's just one of the examples of the adaptations that we make for facilities during a fire. Let's see, next thing I want to talk about is the security of our records. So all of our students' records are stored electronically, and Nikki and her team have put together an IT disaster recovery plan. And I don't know if Nikki is in the room or not. I don't see that she is or that she's responding. So I'll just share with you all the information that Nikki's provided in terms of our information security. So we have backup servers located at Clower, but we also have a backup system that stores information to the cloud and to Albuquerque. And so all of this ensures that all of our banner applications, our email, Office 365, and SharePoint files are all going to be stored securely in Albuquerque or on the cloud in the event that we were to be compromised on the Clower campus. We also have backup of information in Rio Grande. There is a cycle of backup so that we are sure that we're constantly making sure that the information is being saved and stored in a secure location, so that we don't have to worry about that as part of the emergency planning that we're doing. The last piece of information that I wanted to share with you all is really around human resources. So again, because of a need that was expressed to a supervisor on this campus and then communicated to human resources and then to me, the UNM community now has opportunity to use leave differently. So if a person were to be impacted by evacuation, so either notified that they needed to prepare to be evacuated, or assisting family members with evacuation, a person can take 3 days of leave without it drawing from annual leave or sick leave. So paid leave to be able to prepare for an evacuation. This is a policy request that was started from UNM-Taos, and now is something that, I mean, essentially UNM-Taos employees and Los Alamos employees both were going to need to have that policy implemented. I will say that we had phenomenal support from the provost and from HR to be able to pull that together very quickly. And I just, again, want to say thank you for letting us know how you're being impacted so that we can make the types of adjustments that we need to support you in doing the work that you're doing. There was also just I'll just say that there was an employee who reminded us that UNM is one of the largest employers in the region, and that our opportunity to help with this situation is also powerful, which then prompted us to look at the policy that provides for paid volunteer time up to 24 hours in a year. And just want to let you know that if you have an interest in volunteering during your workday, I think it's actually a great opportunity for us to be serving the community in a way that's different than what we typically are doing. We're always serving our community, but it can also be a really fun way for folks to work as a team, to have a positive impact for folks who could use a hand at the moment. So that's everything that I have to share with you right now about the fire readiness plan. Do you have any questions or comments about that?
Hi, this is Kelly with VUB. We do have electronic files for our VUB participants, but we also have paper files that are required to keep in case there's an audit. And I'm just wondering if there's a fire safe area where we can move our paper files in the event that is necessary.
There is a fire safe area, and the area that was built that was fire safe is the computer lab that's associated with the library right now. And I think that, Kelly, what it would be great for you to be able to do is to just go ahead and talk with Randy, so that we're making sure that we're coordinating around something like that, so that it's so that we're ready to do it. You know, part of what Kathleen and I have talked about in terms of some of the more vulnerable materials that we have moving over from the Southwest Archives is we want to be staged, right? So we want things ready to move into the room if that's going to be necessary. And I think that Kathleen has been staging lots of materials this spring as she's preparing to move in a couple of different directions. So thanks for bringing that one up. Any other questions or comments? Anita.
Thanks, Dr. Gutierrez. So a note on the resources available for evacuees. That too is very fluid, and as you know, as time passes, more and more resources are available locally, regionally, statewide, and through some federal resources. Enrico and Teresa have flyers of the most updated, this is from yesterday, I believe, resources that are available. So they have that that they can pass out to folks. I also will be putting in the chat the link to Taos Connects, which is the online volunteer hub. There's some specific projects that have been developed there specifically for supporting evacuees and frontline workers. So I'll pop that in the chat, and it was sent out via email a couple days ago as well.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Randy, are there any questions or comments in the room?
No questions or comments from the room. I do just want to add a congratulations to the kids campus on their graduation last night. I heard there was about 90 people there last night. So congratulations to the kids campus, the hard work and the kids there. And then I'll turn it back over to you.
All of those educational milestones matter. It's important to celebrate them all. Thank you so much. All right, so you all may remember that we talked about having taken a group of folks to ASI, which is the Association of Hispanic Serving Institutions. The conference was held just outside of Albuquerque this spring. We took a large team, and it was really a productive time. I thought that the professional development was really quite strong, and the team really brought back a lot of good ideas. What we wanted to be able to do was start today to share what we have learned at this conference, because what we want to do is incorporate some of these into our regular practice. And so the way that we had decided to share this was to really call on all of the folks who participated in the event and give them each an opportunity to share with our college community about what was memorable, what was impactful for them about being at AHSIE. And so Randy was going to start the conversation with our AHSIE attendees who are in the room right now, and then we will transition to folks who attended AHSIE who are on the Zoom, in the Zoom room. So Randy, would you like to start?
Nikki's taking the microphone around if we want to go ahead, and Trisha's volunteering.
Buenos días, les de Dios. One of the concepts that really stood out to me at the conference was the concept of querencia. So the word querencia comes from the Spanish words, the first querer, meaning to desire, to love, or to want. The second is herencia, meaning inheritance or heritage. In other words, querencia means a love for and sense of place. Among the numerous AHSIes represented at AHSIE, it was an honor to be a part of an institution and represent a community that knows its sense of place. Esteban Ariano and Rodolfo Onaya, respectively, wrote that querencia anchors us to the land. It is respect for vecinos, love for the sacred earth. Manito writers and community members use the term to describe their long-standing roots to northern New Mexico, their relationships to their neighbors, and how we understand lessons passed down from our ancestors. We learn about querencia from the indigenous communities who inhabited these lands long before we arrived. To know where we come from and to acknowledge the socio-cultural experiences that tie us to the community and to one another is essential. In all of our classes and programs, creating spaces of belonging where our students can draw upon their lived experiences, passions, and interests is an essential part of the learning experience, and it sets us apart as a campus community. Across the state of New Mexico, ethnic studies, pedagogy, and curriculum is emphasized and encouraged in order to accentuate the rich culture and historic wisdom of our communities. Personally, my effort is to continue to build up Chicana and Chicano studies at UNM-Taos, as well as to support the increase of degree attainment in the humanities as a whole. To represent UNM-Taos at AHSIE and throughout the community was and continues to be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha. Kelsey?
I don't know how I'm gonna follow that, but if for those who don't know me, my name is Kelsey Mead. I'm the new dual enrollment operations specialist. And so ASI was actually my first experience with UNM-Taos. It was my first event with UNM-Taos. So first, I just want to give thank you to Dr. Archuleta to invite me along with this, because I wasn't even in the state when, when I decided to go. The one thing about ASI that I was really moved by was the amount of institutions that were there, and that they were there for one thing, the main goal. And I believe that main goal is what Trisha really touched on, was that sense of belonging for our students. And so learning more about UNM-Taos and learning about my own job and who I'm working with, the communities I work with, one thing that I really took away from ASI is, you know, how do we bring that sense of community, not just to our community of Taos and Taos County, but also how do we include our school-aged youth in that community? They are a huge, a huge piece of our puzzle. They're the ones that we want to come here. And so I think for me, that was a lot of reflecting on, and how, I build up my, our relationships with the school districts that we work with, and how do we bring UNM-Taos as our own familia community, how do we bring that to the Taos community? And then further, how do we make sure that our youth feel as though they are part of that community, so that when they are about to graduate high school, UNM-Taos is on their list and at the top of their list. So that for me, just providing that value to really promote the value that we have here, I think that was my biggest takeaway from ASI.
Thank you, Kelsey. I think the audience is asking the next folks to come up and talk from the podium. So you two got lucky there. Bailey and Kyla, do you want to come up here and share?
Thank you. All right, so I think you all probably are starting to notice the theme of the conference. And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately as a result of the conference and as a result of conversations that we've been having and our work with the academic impressions trainings is that sense of belonging, but recognizing that our students don't come to us as a blank slate. They come to us with this wide breadth of experiences, of background, of culture, of values, of knowledge that they are bringing to our campus. And so finding opportunities to really highlight that and recognize it and celebrate it, I think is really important. And one of the things that I would like to do is find ways to help students open up and share that information and be comfortable in sharing that information, even from the beginning of the recruitment, the onboarding tasks through admissions, so that when they're in their classes, they're willing to share that information and help each other learn and grow as a result of it. Thank you.
Hi. So I'm really just going to build on the theme that Tricia started. And I think we all agreed when we met post ASI that that feeling of carencia and belonging is something that we really need to expand. And what I've been thinking about mostly is within my team, the role of advising that we serve and how to make more space and have deeper conversations with our students so that they feel they belong, so that their stories are heard. You know, often there's so much administrative work that needs to be done to have students enrolled and registered and ready for classes that there's not enough space left for true communication and listening. And so one of my big summer projects is trying to really simplify and clarify the administrative processes, the advising, the requirements, the pathways, the registration, you know, how that all works so that there is room and time and space for student stories and lives to be really heard. And then we know when we know our students better, then we're better to able to support them with we've been working very closely with Rachel Gift, with Amy, starting to develop extended onboarding experiences and orientation to bring tutoring into a more integrated role and advising into a more integrated role, along with Cami and all the wonderful work that she's doing. So we're in conversations on how to really bring all of these pieces of the student support system together in ways that let us really listen and react appropriately and supportively to all of our students. And this is a challenging time. This is a really hard time for our community right now. And so I think it's even more important that we take these steps. So my goal is just to be really pragmatic and look at the actual concrete steps we can take to make things more manageable and more supportive for our students.
I know we missed a few steps in here. Sorry, Anita and Patricia. We'll close up with the two of you related to ASI, but I know we have other folks that are on Zoom that participated and can give some feedback. Amy, I see Kelly. This feels like, anybody remember that show Romper Room where you're looking there? I'm trying to see who else. Ale, if you could all share, and then we'll go to Patricia and Anita to wrap it up.
Good morning, everyone. As I'm sitting here talking, listening to my colleagues, my brain is all over the place at this point. I had an idea in mind, and now I'm just everywhere. This idea of family and querencia and providing students a space for them to tell their story is really resonating with me right now. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I do that in my classroom? So I have ideas floating around right now. None of them are developed, of course, but I have some ideas. But one of the things that did resonate with me at the conference was that we had, as my colleagues have said, we had a lot of people working together for a common goal. All these folks were doing the same thing. What I'm excited about right now in terms of coming back and doing our work here is that I know our departments individually have been doing their great work. There's not, we don't have a lack of want for of our faculty and staff to want to help students. But now I'm really excited about the possibility of working across campus together in a more focused way to help our students. So I think this is the beginning of something that is going to be wonderful. And I think we're going to see our student success rates increase and their graduation rates increase. And I'm excited about the possibilities.
Thank you, Amy. Ale?
Hi, yeah, I think from my perspective, I really enjoyed the conference because it was very fulfilling and motivating. Just as a practitioner, I think, like everybody has mentioned, it was just really energizing and just effective in refocusing us back into why do we do this work, right? But from a very pragmatic sense too, what I really loved about the conference is that many of the sessions were very like specific and had just a lot of practices and materials and resources that were very, very practical to support some of this work. So it wasn't just about the idea and the loftiness of yes, we need to do this for our students. It was very, very rich in providing like actual examples and resources and practices and materials that are very, very concrete that we can then think about doing ourselves. And like Amy said, I think the fact that we are looking and we're participating in these efforts across department and as a campus-wide effort is very, very exciting, because I think that's where we make a difference. I think there is a whole lot of goodwill everywhere, but I think the coordination is really what can elevate our work. So I think the plan is kind of like share a tease out on this session, and then over a few other meetings and coffees and maybe through the retreat, start sharing some of those specific examples and practices that we were able to learn and get exposed to at the conference. So I'm very excited about that.
Thank you, Ale. Kelly?
So this was my first AHSIE conference, and there were two things that really impressed me. First of all, was the presence of UNM-Taos. I remember telling Brandy, there are so many people from staff and faculty here. I'm not sure if the campus is even open, which really impressed me to see so many of our staff and admin there. And the other thing was just the passion and commitment of those who came from all over the nation to be at the conference and share their experiences, many of whom are of Hispanic culture and had to, really swim upstream a lot in order to get their degrees and to share their expertise. I really enjoyed the sessions. And like I said, just the passion and commitment that I encountered there. So I'm looking forward to going again. And I'm glad I was invited.
Thank you, Kelly. I would say, I'll turn it over then to Patricia and Anita. I would say that was our first live event that we went to post-COVID for many of us, right? The first time we've stepped in a public setting. So I think that was part of it with our presence. I think it was really energizing, exciting, team building experience for me personally to meet a lot of the leadership of the HSI at the national level. Was great when they come up and they know you by name and you're the PI. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Like, oh, I know you. I would say that I echo my colleagues in that sense of belongingness. The idea of us sharing professional development opportunities together is something that I think we want to continue with. I know faculty orientation, which will be the Saturday before the fall begins, will have a lot of professional development opportunities, the academic impressions that a lot of folks are participating in. I think there's a lot of ways for us to share as a community the things we learn and how to execute these things across campus in different disciplines. So I think AHSIE was just the start. I think everybody in here will continue to be part of those discussions and will form different groups. So if you're interested in doing more professional development, let us know because we have different opportunities that we can engage you in. So I think for the campus, this was like one first step. CCRC will be next, but then I'll turn it over to, I don't know what order you're going into. I've already messed the order up. So Patricia and Anita, I'll let you guys figure that part out.
I don't know if Mary wants to say something before Anita and I wrap it up.
Go ahead and wrap it up, and then I'll do the wrap up on the end.
You'll do the wrap up. So as you can see, there was a lot of great work done at this conference. As Randy mentioned, this was our first outing after COVID, and I don't know if it was because of that or what it was, but this was a really good conference. This is probably one of the first conferences that I go to that every single session that I went to was just had my attention from start to finish. So it was really good work. As you can see, there was a lot of takeaways from that conference and a lot of excitement generated from the conversations that we had there. I think for me, one of the biggest things that I take away from that is creating space for the opportunity to really get to know our students on a personal level, to recognize that we're all different and we're all different based on where we come from and the experiences that we have. So there was a lot of sessions that really touched on that, about starting a session with who am I? I am, and you know, and being able to say where we're from. I think it's important because I got to know people really well, really quickly, just by creating the space for that activity. And as we mentioned, you know, there was lots of opportunities for those kinds of similar experiences within the sessions. And, you know, it's just a great opportunity to recognize the whole student, where they come from and what they bring to the table. So I think that was one of the biggest takeaways for me. And how do we create that space within our campus community to be able to do that? As we mentioned, there's a lot of great work and a lot of great ideas that we don't want to just go away. We really want to bring that work back to the campus community. So what we're hoping is that today was the first step in being able to introduce the concepts to you, all of you, of what we were able to experience at the AHSIE conference and what we hope to bring back to the campus community. We're hoping to be able to do this in a variety of ways and in a variety of situations, with this being the first and the second being at our staff retreat next week, being able to introduce a little bit more of the AHSIE concepts to the campus community. So we're excited about this work. It was a great opportunity to take many folks to this conference because it was in Albuquerque, so it was close to home and we were able to do that. I think, you know, UNM-Taos was definitely represented there, and it was a great opportunity to not only take in all that information, but to do some networking, not only with other campus communities, but within our own campus community as well. We all often, you know, don't see each other on a daily basis and don't have those opportunities. So that was great to really get to know each other in a different way as well. So again, we're hoping for this not to be a one and done conversation, but to be more the start of what we hope to bring back to the campus community, and eventually hope to implement some of these concepts for our campus as well. With that, I'll turn it over to Anita.
Thank you, Patricia. So those of you that know me know that I love to give context. And so what I'd like to share is we'll end with at the beginning. And I'd like just to share a little bit more information about ASI, what it is, why it's important to us as a community college, as a two-year institution, as a rural institution, as a Hispanic serving institution. So I'm going to turn off my video for a moment. I'm going to turn on my screen share. I have a few slides. I'm not going to read the slides, the information on the slides. I will share these out if folks are interested, but I will let folks read the information on the slides. So what is ASI and why is it important? So as the national landscape shifts and there's an increase in Hispanic and Latina population, obviously that's impacted student enrollment, and more institutions have become Hispanic serving based on the federal definitions. More federal dollars have been allocated to support minority and Hispanic serving institutions. And there is organizations like the ones you see here on the screen that support research and advocacy for Hispanic serving institutions, but there was a lack in support to the practitioners like us, the frontline workers, faculty, staff, administration, to how to write a competitive Title V or Title III application. And once awarded, how to effectively implement the project to build institutional capacity and to really move the needle on outcomes for Hispanic and Latino student success. So in 2007, a group of colleagues got together, and after bemoaning the lack of resources and support, they decided to fill that gap and create ASI. So they started with a small summit, a group of colleagues that got together. So about 40 people that got together at the Drury Hotel in Albuquerque, and really got together to share, this is what we're doing, really share those best practices and build that network. Now ASI has grown to be a 501c3 organization. There's hundreds of members, and the conference has now grown to an annual with attendees from 400 to 600. I'm going to flip through these pretty quickly, but again, I'll share these out for you all to refer back to, and I'll also share the ASI website for more information also. The key initiatives of ASI, it's really about professional development, building a network of practitioners. There's various different institutes that they provide adjacent to the conference and throughout the years for everything from grant writing to just writing in general, project management, data, etc. And really their big thing is this annual best practices conference, where I have seen this being unique to other conferences is that it's really by practitioner for practitioner. So it's folks that are in the classrooms, that are working with students, that are sharing the things that they're doing on campuses, what has worked, really the data-driven piece of it, and how that they have made an impact on their respective campuses. There's various ways that folks can get involved. As I said, it is a volunteer-driven organization run by a council or a governing board. They are actively seeking additional board members, especially with representation from areas outside of California, which they're pretty heavily represented by California. And if you look at the bottom of the slide there, those are the various committees that they have that they're also looking for participation in. There's an email address here off to the side and the website for folks to find additional information. And then this was the segue. So the 14th annual Best Practices Conference was held late March here in Albuquerque. It's the first time, it was back in New Mexico since that very first convening back in 2007. So that was really exciting, both for ASI as an organization and also for us. As you have heard from folks today, the local familia represented. We had a really great participation. And as you have heard from others, brought back a lot of information that we hope to continue to implement across campus. And with that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions. Not seeing any, I'll turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez to close out this portion of the program.
All right, thank you so much, Anita, and thanks for everyone who shared about their experience being at AHSIE. One of the things that as we're thinking about what we learned from AHSIE, as we're thinking about what the work that we are doing with the Community College Resource Center, and particularly with two programs, two initiatives that they, I don't want to call them initiatives, but really kind of two theories or two overarching ideas that they're bringing forward, one being guided pathways and another being caring campus. I think that what AHSIE does is it gives us implementations, it gives us interventions that people have developed that really connect to two things, to the research and to our own data. And our job at UNM-Taos is to draw on our data, to be aware of what it's telling us, to be aware of what the research is telling us about how students are doing in higher education in general, and for us to be local experts, and for us to know exactly what of all of this is going to work for our students and for our community. And there are things that are going to be different about working with our students in Taos, and we are the folks who really need to understand that and to draw on that information to engage our students so that we are ensured that the work that we're doing resonates with them. So if we go back to what Tricia had started with, one of the things that was just amazing to me about our speakers from New Mexico who were speaking at AHSIE is that far more than any other set of speakers, they were identifying themselves by place. We had lots of folks who would identify themselves by family history and personal history. But if somebody was speaking from New Mexico, they were telling you what little piece of the state they came from and why that mattered. And so for us, our place in Taos and serving our students in Taos is our expertise and is the reason that we're doing the work. Drawing on our data and drawing on the research should only strengthen that work that we're doing. As our speakers have indicated, this is long work, and we will be continuing this work. The staff retreat is, for the first time, going to engage in some pretty significant professional development. The first half of the day is going to be devoted to professional development and the opportunity to build out some of these ideas that we're talking about this morning, related to caring campus, to guided pathways, and to the work that we really feel invested in from AHSIE. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to spend that time together, learning, growing, and then having fun. And we'll continue that work, as Amy indicated and Randy indicated, in the work that we'll be doing with faculty at the beginning of the year, beginning of next school year. And Amy, you indicated that, and I think Kyla also, that this is thought work for you all the way through as we're preparing and working with students moving forward. I want to make sure that we have time for folks to ask questions or share comments or thoughts. No questions from the audience. Okay, all right. Well, I just want to thank you all for being here this morning. It's such a pleasure to see you all. And our schedule in June is going to be slightly different. We are going to be reporting out from the CCRC workshops on Fridays, and we will be doubling up and doing a chancellor's chat with one of those dates. So you'll stay tuned. You'll be getting more information about that. I hope that you have a lovely Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe and take care.